Hey YouTube, it's Geoffrey here in Johor Bahru. It is the capital of the southernmost province, Johor, in Malaysia. I'm pretty much just passing through here. I just spent a couple days up in Muar, and probably a reason you've never heard of it because it's not exactly a tourist town. I think I saw like one other white person for the whole 2 days I was there, and it's not really a place that you want to visit. It's just a typical Malaysian town. I mentioned in my last video that I wanted to go find places that were more Malaysian because Penang was basically an old British colony, which had a really nice feel to it, but it wasn't exactly the Malaysian feel to it. It wasn't authentic, if you will. So I stopped in Malacca, which I also realized as I was reading down there and reading a Malaysian history book, that it is also a big colonial town. So that was also not exactly the authentic experience, but it was a great experience. I was only there for like 14 hours or something, and I must say that the food that I had in Malacca definitely beat out any of the food that I had in Penang. Penang is known as the food capital of Malaysia, and there may be more options and more volume of food, but the quality of food I had in Malacca was certainly better. I ended up running into this little Indian place attached to an Ayurvedic medicine spa kind of thing, and ended up talking to the owner and having some of the best food I've ever had and some of the cleanest food I've ever had. They do not use any refined flour, sugar, or salt in their cooking, and it shows. It is delicious. So I'll have to post a link if you are ever passing through Malacca. And then spent a couple days in Muar, and it was an interesting city. The food is not nearly as good. The coffee is terrible. It is not a pedestrian-friendly city. Sidewalks just kind of end abruptly, or they lead you into the middle of a highway. So not a great place to not have a car, because apparently everyone has a car. It's not even that big of a city, but it was crazy with traffic. Like, I tried to cross the street for like 10 minutes, but it was just a steady, unbroken stream. You kind of just have to get bold and just walk out into the traffic and hope you don't get hit. And it appears that Johor Bahru is not much different, just a lot bigger. So I won't be spending much time here. I'm actually going to go catch a bus down to the central station, because the regional buses drop you off at this Larkin station, which is not how you get to Singapore. So I have to go catch a local city bus down to the Johor Bahru Central Station, which will then get me to a shuttle that will get me over to Singapore, and then I'll spend the rest of the weekend in Singapore. But this Malaysian experience has certainly been interesting, and I don't know if I will come back, but I'm glad I came, and I sweat out a lot, and I certainly learned a lot about Southeast Asian culture. And now it's time to head over to Singapore, that was once part of Malaysia for like 2 years. Funny story, there are a lot of racial tensions in Malaysia. You have the Malay population, who are by definition Muslim, so you see a lot of headdresses here. But there is also a large Chinese and a large Indian population, but they are very much disenfranchised. It is written into the laws that different racial groups are treated differently. And Singapore, when Malaysia was first being formed, ended up getting booted out because Singapore has an enormous Chinese population, and the government at the time did not want those Chinese making up a larger demographic and taking over control of the government. So they got exiled, and then they formed their own independent nation. And I guess if any of those old decision makers are still around, they're definitely kicking themselves because Singapore has done much better economically. And I get to see how that actually all panned out. From what I hear, Singapore is much more expensive. Malaysia has been very cheap. I have not gone through nearly as much money as I thought I would. but I will be able to report back on exactly what that feels like in just a little while. So I gotta go catch my bus. See you soon.